This whole thing is a trifecta of taxes embedded within an environmental policy. And it's bad news for every single person in Washington state. Yet, an average family will experience a $1,400 cost of living increase as a result of this policy.
We are pushing up the cost of living past the point that regular middle-class people, retirees, and young people can afford to live in this state.
Any change to the gas prices will kill my small communities, whether it's Asotin, Clarkston, Holman, Colfax, because we're so close to the Idaho line, people will just sneak across. And what happens then, all of a sudden, well, the businesses aren't doing so well. Now the tax base goes down. Now those schools can't support themselves as well. This has far-reaching effects.
This bill will cost my constituents more than you can imagine. Increase fuel, increase regulations. This won't be the end of it today. There'll be more. There'll be more regulations will come. You'll take away a few more of our freedoms, and we will struggle.
We're looking at a situation where those who are struggling every day to make ends meet, that maybe they get a pay raise, maybe they get a job promotion, and they start to lift themselves up. And suddenly the legislature comes in with a bill like this and pulls them back down.
I've heard a lot about the upside down and backwards regressive system. We've heard it now for quite some time. Products of layers of taxes and regulations, years of tax policy from Olympia negatively impacting our workers and our families. The regressive system was created, again, over decades and can't be unwoven right away. Now, many of the same who are condemning it are continuing it today with a cap and trade. To provide relief and make a more fair system, we need to cut taxes for people who need it most, not add layers.
Madam Speaker, when you layer on these layers and layers and layers, if all of this is implemented as proposed in this trifecta, it'll be over $1.05 in an added gas cost to every single person that uses fuel for their job, to get to work, for the opportunities. This policy is a red herring and a Trojan horse, Madam Speaker. It's a way to fundamentally transform the way we do environmental and tax policy by digging deep into the base of our economy and the energy producers and users that need consistency, need certainty in order to keep progress moving forward.
You know, we've repeatedly been told by the people of the state of Washington that this is not the direction they want to go. And I'm not sure this is the direction we need to go, especially putting it on the backs of working families across our state. You know, the good gentle lady mentioned the atmosphere as our dumping ground, and the good gentleman from the 40th talked about, you know, the impacts of climate change to people that we've never met outside of our state, outside of our country, on, you know, other parts of the globe. And he's right. We have been, and we've done it in a manner that I don't think we realize. By us not being innovators, and by, you know, us putting down clamps like this, we've outsourced our carbon. It may not be in our backyard, but we certainly haven't actually fixed it. We've just transferred it. It's not that we've delayed it, we've just gotten rid of it. We've put it in China, and we've put it in other countries that don't have those regulations. And, you know, it's a bit like when my kid says he's cleaned his room, but really everything's been pushed into the closet. We really haven't actually addressed the problem. We're well on our way to a cleaner and greener economy without cap and trade, without cap and tax, as it were. And I think that that's important to note, that if we're going to solve this, we need to do it in a manner that's not going to punish people. And this bill ultimately punishes the poor in our state.
It's not worth platitudes, Madam Speaker, to break people financially. You know, we could find common ground in this chamber on the matter of pricing carbon, but we have to stop attaching tax increases to everything.
We heard earlier this year that the forest fires have emitted as much carbon as 11 million cars. We have 7 million cars in the state. Focusing on the wildfire problem alone would address everything with no harm to the poor. In fact, we could actually enrich the lives of the poor by putting them to work doing some of the forest health work. We could actually be lifting people up if we reject this bill and work on other solutions. We don't need to tear down the poor.
A vote for the people. A vote for the people that have said no to a policy like this in the past several times, not once, not twice, several times over the last 20 years, they said no. And now we're going to ram it down their throats this quick.
We have the opportunity to make this legislation better, to invest in our workforce, where there's little to no investment in this current bill on workforce development, to return taxpayers' dollars back to them, back to working families who need it a lot more than we do, and absolutely know better how to spend it than we do. We had the opportunity to invest in safety and improving our transportation infrastructure like roads and bridges, and this bill doesn't do that. To truly define what an overburdened community is. You know, I heard the good words, or the words from the good member of the 32nd. They hit me hard because I live in that community. Where the plant was closed, hundreds of families were out of work, out of jobs, tax base crushed, the economy crumbled. Today, that community, my community, where I serve and live, where my wife teaches, we don't have any green new economy jobs. There aren't any retraining programs. You know what we have? We have high unemployment. If green new jobs were in place, many things would be different here. But they're not internationally, they're not nationally, and they're not here locally. They are like they were years ago, a speculative promise. This cap and trade legislation should be voted down for the people of my community and yours, for working families.